Welcome to Midnight Mule FPL. I'm Midnight Mule and this is the video for Game Week 24 for the 5% series for FPL. In this series, I hope to help you finish in the top 5% globally, which means you'll do all right in your mini leagues. You're not going to win the whole thing, but you'll do all right. This is the first game week where the assistant manager chip is available, and my advice to you is don't bother using it at the moment. There's probably going to be a better time later on. If you've still got your triple captain, I think this is the best week to play it probably, even if you have no other chips left. It's worth going for this week, but you do whatever you like. So I'm going to assume you're either playing the triple captain this week or you're not playing any chip at all. But like I said, you do what you like. But I wouldn't recommend doing the other chips. Now, if you're playing no chips this game week, you're almost certainly going to get a red arrow because many managers are playing the assistant manager or the triple captain. So if you're chipless, you just accept it's a red arrow, and that's fine. Even if you do play your triple captain or your assistant manager, of course, you may still get a red arrow. If you play no chips, almost certainly going to get a red arrow. But that's okay. Later on in the season, you're going to have chips available when other people don't. So in this system, I keep it to a smallish pool of players, and you can make your entire team just out of this small number of players. I don't keep introducing players when they become really fashionable and other content creators talk about them if I don't think their overall ownership is going to be high enough. And the reason for that is every week there seems to be 2 or 3. This player's great, you've got to get him, he's going to be good the next few game weeks. The vast majority of these players amount to nothing, but they're soon forgotten and people forget how much they were hyped up. If you go back and look at the videos from other people during the season, you'll see the majority of players they hype up weren't worth getting. And if I keep introducing players that get heavily hyped up, there's going to be so many players in the system, it'd be ridiculous. And I have to keep the players that are in here for a while because they may still be in people's teams, so you want to know, should I bench them or not? Anyway, for the game week just gone, keepers, Raya 9, Pickford 5. And that's all. For the defenders, Gabriel 7, Mikolenko 6, Trent 5. Gvardiol 8, Pedro Porro 8, Konate 5, Muniz 4. Saliba 9, Grieve 6, Mazraoui 6. For the midfielders, we had Salah 8, Mbeumo 7, Gordon 5. Semenyo 9, that was nice. And for the forwards, Gakpo 16, well done if you had him. If you had Gakpo, chances are you got a green. Isak 13, if you had neither of those, you almost certainly got a red. Watkins 5. Haaland 12, nice to see him back scoring. Vardy 9, nice to see him scoring again. Jackson 5. We're now going to look at the players in the system by the 4 positions. And when we go for each position, obviously starting with goalkeeper, the first keeper I show you, that's the keeper that's going to hurt you the most if you don't own them and they do well. So Pickford, I think, is going to be that keeper that's going to hurt you the most this game week. He's also going to be the highest owned. So, but it's not massively highly owned. So if he gets 6 points and you don't own him, that's like you're getting minus 1.2 by my estimation. Whereas Raya, if you don't own him, it's only going to be minus 1.1 if you get 6 points. Sales will hurt you more. So Sales is going to be higher owned than Pickford, I think, just about. But Pickford's got a much better chance of getting a good score because he's got 2 games and Sales has only got 1. So against Liverpool, he'll probably get 1 or 2 points, but he's got a reasonable chance of 6 or 7 against Leicester. Becker's got a better chance of a better score than Pickford this game week, I think, but he's much lower owned, so he's not going to hurt you as much. So the numbers in red you see in the brackets, that's how many points this player is going to be against you if that player gets 6 points and you don't own them. So these are the 4 main keepers. If you've got Pickford or Becker, that's great. Ray is getting massively dumped at the moment. Sells, I think, is holding pretty steady. But after this game week, then Ray is a good choice and Becker is still a good choice, but he may well blank in game week 29. Pickford's all right. He's a lot of fun. If you've got any of these 4 keepers, that's fine. Unless you're desperate to make a transfer. If you've got Raya, I wouldn't bother selling him for Pickford unless you need to free up 0.4, or maybe you've got 3-4 transfers, you want to have a bit of fun, then it's probably worth getting Pickford. If you've got 1 transfer, I think it's probably not worth it because over the next 4 game weeks, Raya may well outscore Pickford. And the 5th most important goalkeeper is Henderson. He's away to United. I wouldn't care about him at the moment. And the next page of keepers, we have none of these matter. Flecken, Sanchez, Martinez, Fabianski, he was on the bench last game week, so he may well be dropped now. So if you've got Fabianski and another keeper, you definitely don't want to swap the other keeper for Becker, because you may then have no keeper in game week 29. But if you've currently already got Becker and Fabianski, don't worry about it. We'll deal with it when we get nearer to 29. And then Ward represents any 4 million goalkeeper, 3.9 here, but any 4 million goalkeeper that doesn't even play. So this coming game week for defenders, Trent is likely to be the highest owned. There's also a good chance he's going to be the highest scoring. So if you don't have him and he does well, that is going to hurt your rank, but it's not worth taking lots of hits to get him in. But if you've got him, that's great. You'll definitely be wanting to play him, of course. Gabriel. So a lot of managers are selling Gabriel to sell up, to free up either the position and or a bit of money. But after Man City at home this game week, he's got Leicester, West Ham, Forest. He could get 2 or 3 clean sheets there. So I've got Gabriel. I've got no intention of selling him. I think he's a good player. These two are both good players, both absolutely worth having. Don't bring Gabriel in this week if you haven't got him, but he's fine to own. Hall is very highly owned, but I reckon he's going to be around the 50% mark in the top million this coming game week. So he's being sold because there are some nice, cheap Everton defenders you could get, or even Liverpool defenders that are cheap. And after this game week, he's away to Man City, then he's got Forest, then he's away to Liverpool. So Newcastle players in general, apart from Isak, are getting offloaded now. So if you've got Hall and you want to move him on, that's completely reasonable. But if you want to keep him this game week for at home to Fulham, that's all right as well. Robinson, I like. If I had to have one of Robinson or Hall over the next few game weeks, I would choose Robinson. I prefer him as a player. They're both the same price, 5.1 million. If you want to move him on again to make some space for someone like Mikalenko who's got a double game week, that's all right, but I wouldn't be desperate to move him on. He's highly owned. He's all right. Kirkes I'm introducing now because he's becoming very popular. If he gets 6 points, he's going to get 2.1 points against you, but he's playing Liverpool this game week. Very good chance he's not going to get a clean sheet. Probably won't get involved in a goal. So I wouldn't be bringing in Bournemouth players this game week unless you have to because it releases funds. So, for example, some people are probably selling Gabriel and buying Kirkes for the future game weeks to free up some money to then do another move somewhere else. But don't get in the Bournemouth players this game week if it's just because you want the Bournemouth players. I personally think it's not worth it. Aina, he's all right. He's moderately highly owned. And then Mikalenko. So he's got a double game week. He may well get more points than any of the others on this page this coming game week, apart from Trent. And at 4.4 million, he's good enough to be bench fodder. So you could, for example, if you've got Hall, sell him to get Mikalenko this game week, play Mikalenko, and then most other game weeks, Mikalenko just sits on your bench. Next page is defenders. We have Konate. He's a cheap Liverpool defender that you could get. Cheapish, 5.2 million, but the chances are you're not going to want to keep playing him. And the 3 Liverpool players you want are, of course, Salah, Trent, then possibly Gakpo, otherwise Alisson for the ones in the system. But Konate's all right. He's cheapish. If you've got Konate, that's absolutely fine. If he's the only Liverpool defender you can afford, then that's all right as well. Virgil van Dijk, likely to score more points than Konate. His minutes are safer than Konate, but Konate, when he's fit, his minutes are very good. Virgil van Dijk, although he's expensive, if you can afford to just keep him every game, he's fine to have. Could well have a good score this game week. Munoz is all right, but away to Man United, wouldn't be buying in this game week. Guardiola's away to Arsenal, then he's got Newcastle, then he's got Liverpool, then Spurs, but he is quite an attacking defender. So if you've got him, you absolutely don't need to sell him. If you don't have him, absolutely don't go buying him. But if you want to sell him for Mikalenko to free up some space and have some fun in the double game week, that's all right. Pedro Porro dropping in popularity, but Van de Ven played tonight in the European games. So if Van de Ven's now back and fit and playing, the Spurs defence should now be a fair bit better. So there could be a few clean sheets and they should certainly be conceding fewer goals. Burn, 4.4 million. The fixtures aren't great coming up. He used to be popular, not so much now. If you've got Burn and you haven't got Mikalenko, that's a nice easy swap. Mikalenko has a good chance of outscoring Burn this game week, and then he can just sit on your bench. Konza, bench fodder. Absolutely don't bother buying him. If you've got him, probably worth moving him to Mikalenko if you've not got him. Third place defenders, Saliba's very lowly owned now, but he's back and fit, so his ownership may gradually move up. Don't buy him this game week though, because he's at home to Man City. 8 Nori is very unpopular now, so none of the players on this page are going to hurt you, even if they get a really big score. No one's got Greaves, no one's got Wellface. Lewis, if you've got him, just get rid of him now. He's been on the bench too much, and Man City have been doing better with the Lewis on the bench, so it may well be Pep's just not going to be playing him. And then Mazraoui, no one's got him. If you've got him and you want him, that's fine, but he's not going to hurt you if he scores lots of points. And Howard Bellis is just cheap bench fodder. For the midfielders, everybody owns Salah. If you don't own Salah, you're going to be in for a world of pain probably this game week. So he's got a double game week. Let's say he gets 10 points and you captain him, you get 20 points. But a lot of managers are going to triple captain him. So by my estimation, I'm guessing his effective ownership is going to be 250%. So if you captain him and he gets 10 points, it's like he gets -5 for you. So this game week, if you're not triple captaining Salah, you kind of want him to not do very well because it's going to hurt your rank. If you don't own Salah at all and he gets 10 points, that's like you getting -25 points this game week. So you really ought to have Salah in your team. Palmer's very highly owned. He's going to hurt you if you don't own him. At home to West Ham, reasonable chance of getting points there. Then playing Brighton, who haven't been great recently. Aston Villa can ship goals. Then he's at home to Southampton. A lot of managers have been selling Palmer. Personally, I don't think it's worth doing. I wouldn't risk selling Palmer for somebody else at the moment. Mbeumo, so he's a very popular player that people have been bringing in. I think he may be the most popular single game week player being brought in. After this game week, he does have a nice run of fixtures. He has been doing well this season, but I think people may be overestimating how many goals Brentford are likely to score against Spurs. If you've got Mbeumo, that's great. Absolutely keep him. If you've sold somebody expensive, more expensive than Mbeumo to bring him in so you can get Trent or Gakpo and something else, that's all right. But I wouldn't be in a rush to bring in Mbeumo this week, personally. But he may well get a goal. And then Gordon, after this game week, it's not going to be so great. He is getting sold at the moment. So in previous game weeks, if you didn't have Gordon, it was right that you should be scared. After this game week, you don't need to be too scared about not owning Gordon. Cliver, he's now become popular enough for me to put him in the system. Again, personally, I wouldn't buy him this game week unless you were doing it because it helps you to move funds around. But a lot of managers who are buying him will probably have him on the bench this game week. And then Rodgers, he's a funny one. So he got a hat-trick, I think, yesterday in Europe. And he's playing away to Wolves. Wolves are good at conceding goals, but that's a West Midlands derby. So Rodgers has got, I think, maybe 7 yellow cards so far this season. It could be a bit of a feisty game. He may well get a booking, but I think he's got a reasonable chance of getting attacking returns. So I have seen some teams online who are benching Rodgers and playing. I've seen someone playing João Pedro instead because João Pedro's on penalties. I think that's a mistake. I think Rodgers is a better choice. But anyway, if you've got Rodgers, that's fine. Next game week, he's at home to Ipswich. But after that, he's absolutely sellable. If you want to sell him, that's okay. Don't go buying in Rodgers, but he's okay to keep for now. Ahmad is a good player. Over the next several game weeks, I'd expect him to get some all right points. I wouldn't bring him in this game week. I wouldn't bring in anyone this game week, probably, who's not Everton or Liverpool. Ahmad's a good player. If you've got him, he's fine to keep. Personally, I wouldn't be selling him, I don't think, to make way for someone else. But it's your team. You can do whatever you like. He's not going to hurt you too much. If he gets 6 points, that's like -1.5. Next page, midfielders. Luis Diaz, he's quite lowly owned and a lot of managers have been selling him to free up a Liverpool spot to get somebody else. If you've got Luis Diaz, I'd say absolutely keep hold of him for this game week and then decide next game week if you want to get rid of him. I don't think he's worth selling. And then Semenyo, he is a good player. He will do well over the next bunch of weeks. If you've got him, he's absolutely fine to keep. But at home to Liverpool this game week, don't expect too much from him. Don't buy him this game week, but he's okay. If you've got him, he's a good player. Fernandes is still a good player. 8.4 million is quite expensive. Some managers are selling him to free up funds to then make sure they've got enough double game week players. So Fernandes to Mbeumo frees up a bit of cash, and then that money might then be used to get Gakpo or Alisson or maybe Trent in defence. But Fernandez, he ticks along. He keeps getting 4, 5, 6, 7 points, the occasional high score. He's all right, but he is quite expensive. If I was wildcarding now and choosing a team, he wouldn't be one of my 5 midfielders. But if I had him, I wouldn't be too scared about having him. But none of these players on this page are going to hurt you if they do well and you don't own them. It's the players on the first page that are going to hurt you if you don't own them. Enzo's massively dropped in popularity. Don't go buying him. Winks, no one's got him. He's just bench fodder. Dibbling's injured. Don't go buying him because he's injured. But he is a good player. When he's back fit, he'll be good. And then Son, nobody's got Son. He is a good player. He's got some nice fixtures. No one's got him. He's absolutely not going to hurt you. So Isak, very highly owned. He keeps scoring goals. If you don't own him and he does well, and he probably will, that's going to hurt your rank. Now, some managers are selling him to buy in Gakpo, who's got a double game week. Personally, I think that's a mistake because over the next few game weeks, I'd expect Isak to outscore Gakpo, and it's going to cost you a transfer to do the move. And in a few game weeks' time, you may well do a transfer to get it back. So personally, I'd say don't sell Isak. So Gakpo, last game week was the week to get him because he's at home to Ipswich, and he does much better at home than away. He's got 2 away fixtures this game week, probably get 70-ish minutes in both. He may get a goal. There's a reasonable chance he'll get nothing. So if you want to bring him in, that's fine. I definitely wouldn't sell Isak to get Gakpo. But next game week, at home to Wolves, he may well do better next game week than he will this game week. So over the next 4 game weeks, he'd do all right. He is fine to have. But there are some good players. If there's another way of getting him, apart from selling Isak, that's all right. Then Chris Wood, he's dropping slightly in popularity, but he is more popular than Gakpo. So if he outscores Gakpo this game week and you have neither of them, it's Wood who's going to hurt you the most. And Dyer is a new entry this game week. He's 5.5 million, which is quite cheap for a forward. So a lot of managers would be buying him for the double against Leicester and Liverpool, and then he may well just live on the bench. He's all right to get if you're doing it to free up some funds and have some fun in the double game week. But there's a reasonable chance he's going to get 2 points and 2 points, total of 4 points. So personally, for example, I wouldn't sell Chris Wood for Ndiaye. There's no way I would do that unless I was doing it to free up some funds so I could then get Trent Alexander-Arnold or somebody else that I particularly wanted. But he's all right. If you want a bit of fun, you've got lots of transfers, he's fine to get. If you've got João Pedro and you want to get him, that's a perfectly okay move because João Pedro often lives on your bench anyway. Mateta's a good player, but again, away to Man United, I wouldn't go buying him this game week. João Pedro, he's massively dropped in popularity. Away to Forest, unless he gets a penalty, probably won't get any points there. Then Chelsea, Southampton, Bournemouth, could get something there. But he plays all over the pitch. He doesn't play in goal, but he plays sometimes in the middle, sometimes a bit further back. So absolutely don't go buying João Pedro. And if you want to swap him for Ndiaye, that's all right. Watkins is a very good player. He's quite lowly owned. He's not going to hurt you if he does well. Got a couple of nice fixtures coming up. I'd say absolutely don't buy him. But if you've got him, he's all right to keep. Would I sell Watkins for Ndiaye? Oh, possibly. It does free up some money, so you can use the money elsewhere, I guess. And then Raul Jimenez, he's dropped. He was very popular a few weeks ago. He's nowhere near so popular now. He's not going to hurt you if he does well. Don't go buying him. And then the second page of forwards, Haaland is a very good player. He's consistently scoring now, but he's very lowly owned. If he gets 6 points, that's like minus 0.1 against you. He's away to Arsenal this game week. Absolutely don't go buying him. If you have him and you want to sell him to move some players around, that's okay, because if he does well after you've sold him, it's not going to hurt you. Jackson, very lowly owned, some nice fixtures. He is a good player, but there are probably other players that better have just now, so absolutely don't buy Jackson. If you've got him, you want to hold him, okay, but probably moving him to Gakpo or Ndiaye may well be worth doing. Vardy, he's a lot of fun. He's only 5.4 million. Havertz, more or less nobody owns Havertz. He is a good player, though. Over the next 4 game weeks, for example, he could do quite well. Probably do better than some of the players on the previous page, but he's 7.8 million and he's not going to hurt you, so he's fine to not own. If you've got him, he's all right to keep, but if you want to get someone more popular, that's fine. Cannon represents only 4.5 million forward who you're never going to play. And Kuna, basically nobody owns Kuna now, so he's fine to sell. Absolutely don't go buying him. So we're now going to look at the benching order. This is my suggested benching order from the players we've just seen. You do whatever you like, but if you blindly follow these instructions, I think over the course of the season, you'll do all right. And this whole series is about doing all right. So the first keeper you see is the one that goes on your bench that you've got. So if you've got Ward or any 4 million keeper that doesn't play, he's on your bench, which would include Fabianski. Then I'm suggesting it's Martinez, Flecken, Sanchez, Henderson, Raya, Sells, which means the best 2 keepers this game week are Pickford and Becker. So Becker, I think, is the better keeper than Pickford for the next 2 game weeks, but having Becker means you can only have 2 other Liverpool players, whereas you're not going to have 3 Everton players, surely. You could have, but it's unlikely. And for the other players, the first player you see that I show you, I suggest is position 3 on your bench, the next one position 2, and the last one position 1. So if you've got any 4.5 million forward that doesn't even play, he's obviously on your bench. Then it'd be Dibbling, who's injured, Winks, Harwood Bellis, Weltface, Kirkes, Aït-Nouri, Konza, Kuna, Enzo, Semenyo, Mazraoui, Pedro Porro, Munoz, Byrne, Greaves, João Pedro, Saliba, Gvardiol, Vardy, Raul. Now, I know there's some good players on this page, but I still think, given the ownership and the likely scores they're going to get, I think this is the right order. And then we have Mateta, Cliver, Robinson, Aina, Hall, Gabriel, Havertz, Rogers, Ahmad, Fernandez, Mbeumo, Son, Jackson, Gordon, Watkins, Wood, Haaland, Mikalenko, Konate, Virgil van Dijk, Luis Diaz. Obviously, those 4 top ones at the moment wouldn't necessarily be playing every week, but because they've got 2 games this game week, you absolutely need to be playing them. So for captaincy, the Liverpool players, Salah, Gakpo, Trent, they are all decent goals for captaincy. Salah is by far the safest choice because he's going to be so highly captained, and there'd be a good number of managers playing their triple captain on Salah. So if you're not playing a triple captain chip this game week, you don't want Salah to do well because it's going to hurt your rank. But if you have a good feeling about Gakpo or Trent, or you want some fun, and either of them could outscore Salah, you can go for that play if you like. You could also go for Ndaya. There's a chance, because he's playing 2 games, he may do all right. And then Palmer and Isak are both single game week players, but they could do well. Any of these as your captain, any of these as your vice captain is a good call. If you can't choose 2 of these, or you don't want to choose 2 of these, then any of the green midfielders or forwards on the previous pages, they'll be all right as well. Now, I normally say don't pick 2 players from the same team in case the game gets postponed or abandoned, but in a double game week, that doesn't matter. So if you want to choose Salah as captain and Trent as vice captain, for example, that's all right. As for the background picture, today is January the 30th, and in 1790, the first lifeboat test was launched, and it was designed by Henry Greathead. And we obviously don't have any photos of the first lifeboat, but there's a reasonable chance it looks something a bit like this. And that's my thoughts on the players, the popular players for Game Week 24. It's a double game week, and on average, I think content creators in particular get a bit too excited about double game weeks. This is still Everton. You absolutely don't want to be taking hits to get players in. You don't want to be wrecking your team to be getting players in. If you've got Everton players, that's great. If you've got Liverpool players, that's great. Absolutely don't take hits to bring them in, though, because you're going to be lumbered with then. And there's a reasonable chance in 2 or 3 weeks' time, managers will be trying to offload Gakpo, offload Luis Diaz, and they'll be, why on earth should I get in there? So it's a lot of fun, the double game week, but don't go taking hits. That's my advice. Thank you very much for watching, and good luck for Game Week 24.